everyone, welcome to Best Recipes with Sharon. Today's recipe is a really tasty side dish. And this dish is called Peri honeyed sweet potato. These are so good and they're sweet with a little bit of heat, and you can adjust that to your personal liking. And before we start, just a reminder that my cookbook is available on Amazon, and I've provided a quick link in the description below this video. And without any further ado, let's get right to making today's featured recipe. I'm going to use between 4 and 5 sweet potatoes. So you go ahead and peel them and trim it up a little bit. And of course, give them all a good wash. And sweet potatoes are rather hard, so you need a sharp knife and cut them in about 1/2-inch slices. And then take each slice and slice them in about 1/2-inch slices. And then slice those into 1/2-inch cubes. And these need to be about that size so that they'll cook through evenly. Then collect them all in a bowl and we'll get ready to do some frying. Depending on how many you're doing, you get out a large frying pan, and you might need a couple of frying pans because you want them not to be too thick through, so that when you stir them that they can get lightly browned as well. Okay, so we're going to pop the lid off of some extra virgin olive oil. This will infuse some extra flavor into the sweet potatoes as well. Okay, so let's turn the heat on high. Place a reasonably large frying pan over your heat source, and then pour the extra virgin olive oil into the bottom of the frying pan and continue doing that until it coats the bottom. Now dump the sweet potato cubes in on top of the hot oil. And then stir it around so that the sweet potatoes get coated with the oil as much as you can. Continue to fry these over a high heat and give them a good stir every once in a while. And so you want the heat on fairly high so that they'll brown up a little bit. And because the size of the cubes are so small, it won't take all that long and they'll be starting to get tender. Here they're just beginning to tenderize a little bit. They're still a little bit hard, and at this point, this would be the time to add 1 tablespoon of butter. This adds great flavor when it's mixed with the extra virgin olive oil, but it also assists with the browning. This is going to be so tasty. Let them cook for a minute on their own and then give them a good stir again. Watch them closely because once you notice that they're starting to brown up, turn the heat down to a minimum. And you can see how they're starting to tenderize here, and they look like they actually shrink a little bit as they cook as well. And make sure that you don't overcook them, so you got to keep a close eye on them once they start to brown up, and it's a good idea to check them out a little bit. So you take them and you remove the pan from the heat. They should be just starting to get tender now and not too overcooked, because you still have to put the glaze on them and of course heat that through. So you get a small little dish, and what you'll do is pour some liquid honey in that dish. And in this case, I probably added about 1/3 cup. And then I added the same amount of peri sauce. At least that's a good place to start, so you can alter that based on what your taste preferences are. So the peri sauce that I use is garlic and a medium heat. I did a little taste testing in my little dish here, and it seemed pretty good. It had a little bit of an afterbite, which is exactly what I was looking for. Now spoon that over the top of your sweet potatoes, and do it by spoonfuls and stir it in and taste it again, because you may not need the whole amount of sauce that you've mixed up. You need to add just enough so that the sweet potatoes soak up the flavor, but at the same time you don't want the sweet potatoes really wet. Although there are many ingredients in peri peri sauce, the star of the show is really fiery African bird's eye chilies. So let's go back to our sweet potato dish here. So once you're satisfied with the amount of honey and peri peri sauce that you have on it, keep it over the stove long enough to heat it through, and you give it a little bit of a stir to make sure that all of the sweet potatoes have some on it. Now, just like they do in the restaurants, you can serve them in small dishes like they do. Go ahead and top it off with some crumbled feta, and I like to have the feta fresh and preferably in a bit of a brine, and you can put as much or as little of that on it as you wish. Now, one thing that adds an extra special touch is some roasted pumpkin seeds. And I roast those up by just simply adding a little bit of butter to a frying pan. Heat them through until they brown a little bit, and then add them directly to your dish. So you can add them directly to the frying pan, or you can do it on individual servings as well. I got acquainted with this dish at Nando's, and I decided that maybe I'll go home and make some, and so here it is, and it tastes just like it. So if you've ever been to a restaurant and had this, now you can make it at home, and you can do it according to your own taste buds. So this is good served especially with a little bit of roasted chicken, and you can actually put a little bit of peri sauce on the chicken as well before putting it in the barbecue, and that goes really well together. What I did is I took rotisserie chicken and I cut it into chunks, and it's already cooked. I marinated it in the sauce and then put it on the barbecue to finish it. So it's good to be introduced to some new flavors. And even though I'm not big on real hot and spicy food, I really enjoyed this. You can really Canadianize it. Make it the way you like it. And no matter where you're from, you can level the heat up as high as you want it to be in this heat and sweet side dish. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and until next time, happy eating!